Finally, Rockwood listened to you folks. They took one of their popular models, they flipped it around, and gave you what you always wanted, a mother-in-law suite. Welcome everybody, Josh the RV Nerd with Bish's RV down here at Rockwood today, where they've taken their previous 20BHS and changed it into the new 20BH. It's mostly the same RV, but they flip-flop, crisscross, applesauce the back end of this thing, and they put the bunks on the camp side, which puts like a cargo bunk function over on the camp side of the RV instead of the opposite side. We've got a small, lightweight RV with an all-aluminum skeleton, but plywood floor decking, everything else being laminated and lightweight, with double composite layering going on in things like the sidewalls and even the front wall here, with holding tank heaters and 200 to 400 watts of factory solar, 1800 watts of factory inverter to power the outlets, a 12-volt TV that is also a smart TV, and a bunch of other things all wrapped up into this little nugget right here. Now, some quick housekeeping notes. We are looking at, this is prototype season at the time that I'm recording this, and they were testing a suspension on this RV that they are not going to use. They are also seriously looking at getting away from the carpet in the slide flooring. So by the time you actually see one of these in production at one of our stores, it might look a little bit differently in a better way. So keep in mind, it's only going to get better from here. You have a full-size roof air conditioner on this little thing. The bigger vent fans also in the bathroom to help keep that airflow moving, and a bunch of other good little notes on this one. Let me know what you think about how they changed it around here and what you think about it. And if you like how we try to give you good with bad information and early access to the new stuff, make sure you hit that subscribe button to catch the next one. Let's get started. So if you were just sort of chilling over in the lounge in the dinette area, this is kind of what you would see right here. There's obviously a privacy shade built right into the entry door window, which is really nice. And especially on a nice sunny day, if you want some airflow coming in and you have just the screen door closed but the main door open, it really does help open up the sense of space very nicely in this RV right here. When they revised this model, when they flip-flopped it from left to right side, the kitchen did get compressed, I guess, in a sense, a little bit, but there's a really good, like, dedicated, I'm going to call it closet right there, pantry closet kind of wombo combo. You'll see in a few minutes that could either be shelf storage or it could be hanging space if you want it to. Now, the upper bunk does have a full, like, breeze window. The lower bunk doesn't, but it does still have some kind of viewing window because that's that cargo door. That one, unfortunately, doesn't really open for airflow. It is nice, however. Rockwood's one of the very few brands that actually includes a ladder from the factory to get kids to those upper beds there. Especially in single axle campers, usually the default is you have to heave-ho, throw the kids, yeet them into the upper bed area. That's a 12-volt smart TV, by the way. So if you are stuck inside on a rainy day, I think the location of that is actually pretty smart. Now, the hiccup is it probably came at the cost of a potential cross-breeze window. I don't know. What's the right call here? Then again, I'm not sure where the awning arm falls on the outside. They might not have been able to put a window in there, period. I'm not even sure. The bed size here, this is not a true queen bed. And sometimes on models like this, you'll hear me say, if you sacrifice and cut out the headboard, you could do that. You could put in a longer bed. In theory, you could here. However, because they actually run wiring and stuff, that power tower through that headboard, it would take a little bit of rerunning stuff to accomplish that. It's not impossible. It's just not a simple direct swap replacement. So that's kind of one of those things you have to choose which object and which concept is a little more important to you. Now, our sidewalls in these, this is actually a short wall camper. This is 6'1" from floor to sidewall, which is 5 inches shorter than industry standard. But we're still 6.5 foot from floor to apex of that barreled ceiling because of how aggressively they arch it. And generally speaking, it works just fine. Like I can easily clear that air conditioner. For the most part, walking around, this is great. When I climb into the shower later in the video, that's when it starts to become a little more obvious that there's a little bit of a challenge there in a respect. Now, Anywhere they generally can, they add a little bit of extra storage space here. They're generally pretty good about not letting any space go to waste. And I respect that about them. They do a good job of that. That's actually, Rockwood does a better job about that than most brands in general. Look at the slide side breeze windows though. As I recall in the past, I don't remember GeoPro doing a lot of that. So I think those small little side breeze windows is a new thing that they added, probably based on your feedback. I did notice also, this is it's the, as far as I know, the only carpeted slide in the entirety of the Rockwood lineup. And I mentioned that to the brand manager, and he looked as confused as I did. He's like, we don't do carpet. Why did they do carpet there? And I think that it maybe got overlooked. This is an early prototype. His words to me were, I'm going to fix that. So I'm pretty sure that will be linoleum once it actually goes into production. But you might want to double check on that. I also, I give them credit for how they accomplished this. It's a single pedestal base, but the table also brackets against the wall. And that creates a very sturdy, stable dining space. So if somebody belly bumps it or one of the kids flops around, it doesn't knock your red Kool-Aid all over the place and cause a nasty spill that you have to clean up, you know? I've been sitting here all day using this as my little makeshift office, offloading my camera onto my laptop right there. It's been working great. Obviously, the dinette can fold down into a sleeper as well. The dinette, just like the bed and really the whole box of the RV, is actually a welded aluminum cage kind of camper. They put the microwave over here above the fridge, which GeoPro does quite a bit. We are looking at the electric convection oven upgrade. By default, that's just a standard microwave. When they changed from the 20BHS to the 20BH, it actually just occurred to me when they had to make some accommodations over here in the kitchen space. They lost a little bit of countertop area, and they also lost the propane oven. So ovens are not optional in GeoPros. They are standard wherever they are possible, but they don't quite have enough space here to accomplish it. It's a little bit of a truncated kitchen counter space. Almost reminds me a little bit of like an Ember Overland kitchen counter. A lot of those have some, real similar kind of aspects and qualities there. The overhead cabinets, though, one of the things I like is how those are self-strutted, so you don't have to wrestle them and fight with them. We'll get back to that in just a second. I realized I wasn't quite ready for that. I want to talk about this guy over here, the new Power Pro system. So, this is made by Wifco, who's the same people who make like a lot of converters for RVs. And it's a smart command system, and all GeoPro and ePro RVs are going over to it. It's also a voice-activated system. Let me ask you, do you care at all about voice-activated functions in a tiny camper like this? I'll go first. I absolutely do not. But I'm curious to know what you think. In the meantime, I'm going to open up the kitchen space. They do at least give us a kitchen drawer. I was glad to see that. I was glad to see that they didn't give us 0 kitchen drawers, because it's actually shocking how common that is within the RV industry. And again, that big, I'm going to call it closet, could be a pantry, could be a closet, could be a combination of the two. You can kind of, pick your own adventure with that sucker. Because the thing is, bunkhouses traditionally lack the storage you really want and borderline need for a bunch of people, even for a weekend. Like, I tend to live out of a duffel bag, and I can certainly get by on very sparse clothing. I'm a very atypical guy, or not atypical, I'm a very typical guy, where it's like, okay, so I wore this shirt Monday. Well, now that I'm out of clothes, it's Thursday. Well, that shirt aired out for 2 days. It's got to be fine. I could wear it for a little bit. It's not going to hurt anything, And the flies that follow me around, they tend to agree. So I think I'm doing just fine. Thanks. Anyway, what I was looking for, I was trying to find a sticker to tell us what the bunk weight rating is. If I'm not mistaken, they're aluminum welded cage bunks like this. They tend to be a 300-pound capacity. I was really glad. I was also looking for power outlets. I'm glad to see that. There are some on the lower bunk as well. I also want to point out that upper and lower bunks each have their own separate curtains. And again, the dedicated ladder to get everybody up and down so you don't got to throw them. That's always a welcome little ditty. Now, Rockwood does a peekaboo, I smell you bathroom door. And that jelly is not everybody's jam. But they do it because they include that big heavy-duty bathroom vent fan right there. Because if you want air out, you got to be able to pull air in. And if you don't pull air in from the main cabin body of the RV, you're going to pull air up from the black tank when you flush that toilet. And that is going to be a bad experience, ladies and gentlemen. I love that they did this. I love that they included a little bit of towel space right now. It's incredible how few manufacturers do that. Magnet holdbacks, I noticed on the hardware this year for 25. Now if you look over on the left, that's one of those little folding sink things. Rockwood really tries to give you a dedicated separate sink so that you don't have to wash your bathroom hands in the kitchen space area. Not everybody loves those like truck camper style folding sinks though. I don't know, what's your take on that? I figure if nothing else, if you're short on seating space, you can always use the toilet as an extra dining bar and then eat your nachos off that fold down sink. I'm joking, obviously. Don't freak out. Like, if someone's going, nope. Because they went with a shower curtain to give you better elbow room around the toilet, they did need to go with a tub to kind of try to keep that curtain under control. And apparently when you're in the shower, you're going to turn your hot and cold water off and on with your feet. But also down there, you do have the, shower miser, the water saver system. So if you're boondocking, that'll keep you from just wasting fresh water waiting for your shower to heat up. Now, I mentioned this earlier. The headroom in the shower is a problem. Like, the big fan is nice, but I'm a little over 6 foot. And actually wearing shoes, I'm not even able to fully stand straight up in the shower, even at the tallest point of the skylight. And that's a bummer. I hope you appreciate, though, that I'm willing to go out of my way to showcase where RVs are good or not good and try to be fair and candid with you. But I guess it's an argument here of how long are you going to spend in that shower versus how long are you going to spend in the rest of the RV? Can you deal with a few minutes of inconvenience in a shower to save a bunch of weight on the RV by not having a 5-inch taller sidewall? I don't know what your take on that. And I'll tell you what, that slide out was way deeper than I necessarily realized. Like, it started closing, and you can see how the dinette's obviously much bigger than the slide. It sticks out, but like, it just kept coming, and it kept coming, and I'm like, uh-oh, are we not going to be able to get through here? And then finally it stopped. And yeah, you can get through here. You're going to have to do a single sideways travel trailer 2-step to do it. But you can get to the bed, the kitchen, the bathroom, the bedroom, the bunks, everything without ever touching the slide button, which is, I think, what you're looking for in a small camper. So this thing, if I'm not mistaken, it's going to come in around 3,700 pounds empty weight. It's going to have around 800 pounds of cargo capacity. So I think that this will have a total GVW between 4,700 to 4,800 pounds. Now, I'm basing all of that off the specs on the 20BHS predecessor, but again, this is essentially the same RV that they just kind of rearranged some furniture. It's not, it's like when you move the sofa and the coffee table in your living room, you didn't really change the house, it still weighs the same. That's kind of where I'm basing that off of. But at the time I'm recording this, I actually don't even have those specs available to me because they have not yet actually weighed and spec'd out the RV that we are looking at today. Up top here, one of the optional pieces of equipment you can add to these is the slide-out awning. You don't see those on GeoPros as much as some of the other bigger Rockwood and Flagstaff models. All your windows, with the exception of the front windshield, will open for airflow. The slide side window, though, this is one of those things that GeoPro hasn't done a lot of, adding a slide breeze window across their small slide. You haven't seen them do that a lot before. It's an easily overlooked feature, but a very nice one. They are running a Schwintek slide system on this RV, by the way. They are also still running a gas and electric water heater. A lot of manufacturers have gone to the tankless on demand, and they are growing in popularity, for better, for worse. However you feel about it, that is a thing that's happening. But GeoPro Rockwood overall has maintained a gas and electric fast recharge system right here. This model also benefits from like a shockingly good front pass-through that's better than a lot of bigger RVs that I've seen. And even though I didn't ignite the light on the other side, there are lights on both sides of that front pass-through. Take note of those quick drop stabilizers, though. You might notice how this one's on a bit of an angle. They're playing with some things to make this even more stable. So those quick drop stabilizers already do a fantastic job of taking the herky-jerky wiggle jiggle out of the RV when it's at your destination. But they're trying to make it even better. So I think that's very, very cool. The bike rack off the tongue jack, that is another optional piece of equipment. That's also something that's very easy to add aftermarket. It does not have to be done from the factory. Kind of like the second solar panel up on the roof that we saw in our floor plan in a flash. This normally has a single 200-watt solar panel and a 30-amp charge controller. You can get the second panel put on right from the factory, and I prefer to do that myself. Because it's cheaper to do it from the factory, and now it's covered by the factory warranty. But the fact is, if you wanted to daisy chain that on after the fact, you could. And that green sticker down by the front pass-through compartment is telling us that this does have a portable prep point as well for a portable panel. Yeah, okay. I don't know that I phrased that the way that I wanted to, but I think the message is there, so I'm just gonna cut bait and call it good enough. You know, you don't have a full bumper, but they do give you a place to keep your sewer tube out of the way. And it is nice that they give us a matching spare tire. Not every manufacturer does that. The belly of these is not enclosed, but they do have holding tank heat pads right on the holding tanks. And again, I want to circle back to this. This is not the suspension they're using. This was a test unit. They took it around on a test track. They were trying to see if there was a version of a trailing arm suspension system that they like better. And what they found is that system, at least, jostled the interior of the trailer more than their existing torsion, axle, and suspension systems. So they are going to maintain the same suspension package that Geo Pro has had for years. They're not gonna rustle that up. But I commend them for always trying to see what maybe could be better instead of just resting on their laurels. Turns out the suspension they had is really, really good. And they're going to keep rocking with it, basically. Keep on rocking in that free world. Now, I want to make clear this little table shelf that I have the griddle box displayed on, that's not what you do with it. There's a separate bracket that also hooks onto that little side mount railing so that the griddle does not sit right against the RV and isn't cooking the RV. If you mount it properly, that's not an issue whatsoever. But we do have a griddle, and we do have an outside fridge, and of course a gas grill quick connect. And I don't know that I would consider that a full, true outside camp kitchen, but they are accomplishing the biggest main points of a camp kitchen right here in a tiny RV. I think that's actually pretty smart. But they're also doing it in areas of the RV that would otherwise be somewhat wasted space. You know, they didn't bury it under a bunk. They left the bunks in this actually full cargo storage, and we're going to come back to that in a second. The 300-pound accessory hitch on the back gives us just yet another flex function point where you can do about anything you want with the RV. And this does have a single sewer outlet, which is nice. You know, you don't have separate hookups for the kitchen and bathroom, which is pretty normal in small campers like this, but I've seen a couple. I've seen a couple small little single axle or, well, not even single axle, but anyway, I've seen a couple small RVs that still have split hookups. But over here, some folks really like this. Some folks really don't. They've given us Aunt Edna's cargo bunkhouse right here. Now that is an anti-slam door, as you saw, because I just flung the door open. It does have a privacy curtain for the shade, which is really nice. And if you look at the level of that bunk versus the door handle, this is located below the bunk. So the kids in the bunk can't start fiddling with this and sneaking out of the RV at night. And to make sure some gas station murderer hobo doesn't sneak off with your kids, that deadbolts just like your main entry door. So you have the same kind of security here that you would have on the main door. But some people still don't care. They just rather it not be here. And that's not a criticism by any means. That's just, I'm just sharing information as I understand it. This is also really cool kind of cross section to get to see that even their bunk that they build has an aluminum frame. Anything that is load bearing that they build in-house, they build with a welded aluminum cage. So like that flip up bunk, the bunk above it, it's load bearing. People are going to sit on it basically. So they build it with a welded aluminum cage. Now, because you have that fridge over here, there is a big boxy chunk in your little cargo bunk area. But I think for little kids' bikes potentially, or folding e-bikes, I think you could probably still fit a single folding e-bike in there. Like I've got a pair of electrics, a 2.0 and a 3.0. I could definitely fold my bike up and fit it in there. And those are pretty good size folding e-bikes. I think most people would fit in there just fine. Or you could put, you know, an unruly husband who isn't listening to the rules and then lock the door and walk away, teach him a lesson. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. So that's my 2 cents. What are your thoughts? Do you like the new 20BH? Did you prefer the 20BHS previously? Do you not even know the difference? Do you not even care? I don't know. But I will leave you links in the video description, first of all, to check for pricing and availability on these models right here, as well as, what do I want to say? Similar floor plans from other builders. And let me know which one you'd kind of go with and why. And until next time, thanks again, guys, for tuning in. Take care, stay safe, have fun, and happy camping, everyone.